5:20, and I welcome everybody to the Saugeen Shores Committee of Adjustment for Monday, August 19th, 2019, and I now call this meeting to order. Second item on the agenda is the acknowledgement of any pecuniary interest. You can either raise it now or at the time it comes up on the agenda. Mr. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to declare on item 5.1, the Wendy's sign variance. They're a fellow competitor, and I just don't want to be seen as influenced.
Certainly. We're going to change the order. We're going to start with. We're going to change the order of the agenda. 5.1 is moving to after 5.4. So, I have a motion moved by Mr. Legault and seconded by Councillor Rich, dated today, Monday, August the 19th, 2019, that we adopt the minutes of the July 15th meeting as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. There's no additional business, so we'll move on to the public hearings, and the first one will be item 5.2, minor variance A-47-19.48. This is John Pearson is the applicant with the municipal address of 544 Eckford Avenue in the former town of Southampton. Ms. Fortier.
Thank you. So this is a property at the northern extent of Port Elgin, north of the Saugeen River, adjacent to Lake Huron along Eckford Avenue. And so there's an existing dwelling on the property, as well as a small shed and an existing U-shaped driveway. And the property is entirely designated and zoned for residential, so it is removed from any EP lands associated with the Lake Huron shoreline. It is serviced with municipal water and sewer, and Eckford Ave is a year-round municipal road. So the variance is to construct a new detached garage and pool structure at the kind of northern end of the property in the general area of the existing shed. And the variance is required for the front yard setback. So the front lot line is actually this line here. So it's quite a ways from the road. The edge of the road is this line over here. So there's a significant difference, about 20 meters distance, about 20 meters between the edge of the lot line and the edge of the road. And the reduced setback is going from 6 meters to 1.5 meters. So that's this kind of hashed area here. So that's what is subject to the variance today. The side yard setback is met, so there's plenty of room on the side yard. So it's just the front yard. So this is the existing shed and the existing kind of driveway area. In terms of the policies, this is within the primary urban community in Bruce County of Saugeen Shores, and it is designated for residential, so the existing residential use is permitted, and associated accessory uses, such as this, are also permitted. And the zoning is R1, so residential first density, and other than the exterior, or the front yard setback, then it meets all the other ones. In this case, because the property is adjacent to Lake Huron, it is permitted under the bylaw to have an accessory structure in the front yard. Typically, they have to be in the exterior side or the rear yard, but on properties adjacent to the lake, they can be in the front. So it's just that front yard setback that needs relief. In terms of the interdepartmental and agency consultation, town staff noted that they had no objections, that there have been similar applications in this area in the past. They did note that they don't wish to see any long-term parking on the town road allowances, that any encroachments be removed from the beachfront, so that's kind of something that would be dealt with outside of this application, and noted that accessory structures cannot be habitable as a dwelling unit, which is already the case under the zoning bylaw. In terms of the other agencies, there are no issues raised. The SVCA did confirm that the property is outside of any hazards associated with Lake Huron and is not within their regulated area. So there's no issues from a hazard or natural heritage standpoint. There were no public comments received in regards to this application. And so in regards to the 4 tests of the variance, the proposal, I believe, maintains the intent and purpose of both the official plan and the zoning bylaw, as I've laid out. In terms of does it represent an orderly and appropriate development and use of the land, I believe that it does. This location is logical based on the configuration of the lot and existing driveway. It will be in the same general location as the existing shed and will be able to use the existing access. And the fact that this is a relatively treed lot, there's quite a lot of trees along the front and side yards, should also impact any visual impacts from having a shed in the front, but that is permitted, as I noted. It's not expected that this will impact the maintenance and use of the municipal roadway. As I mentioned, this is quite a ways back from the traveled roadway, and even should the municipality choose to widen the road, there would still be a significant amount of room for access and parking despite this reduced setback. So with that, and then for the fourth test, is it minor? I believe that it is. I don't expect that permitting this variance will have any impact on the character of the area or municipal functions. So with that, I do recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Forte. Is the applicant in the room? Oh, do you wish to address the committee?
Well, I'm not actually sure that we are going to use the full amount. First of all,
Does any member of the public wish to comment on this? No? Committee? A motion moved by Councillor Rich, seconded by Mr. Legault, dated August the 19th, 2019, that minor variance application A-47-19.48 be approved, subject to the following conditions. That any future development on the property conforms to the provisions of the zoning bylaw, and that the decision applies only to the proposed development as indicated on Schedule A attached to the decision sheet and forming part of this decision. And that the minimum front yard setback for the proposed accessory building, detached garage, be no less than 1.5 meters. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next item is item number 5.3. This is a minor variance, A-49-19.48. This is John Williams' property with municipal address of 179 Lansdowne Street in the former town of Southampton. Ms. Fortier.
Thank you. Yeah, Jake, you. Perfect. So this property is at 179 Lansdowne Street. So it's right by the corner of Lansdowne and Albert Street in Southampton. So this is just north of the downtown core in Southampton, adjacent to Annie's Lane. So there is an existing dwelling on the property, and you can see the lane in the aerial photo. And so it is a small lot. It is undersized per the zoning bylaw. It's about 350 square meters in size, as opposed to the 500 required under the bylaw for a single detached lot in the R1 zone. But it is existing here along Annie's Lane. It is used for residential. All the surrounding land uses are residential. It has municipal water and sewer, and does have year-round municipal road access via Lansdowne Street and via Annie's Lane, which is a year-round maintained municipal road. So the purpose of the application is to facilitate the construction of a new dwelling on the property in largely the same footprint as the existing dwelling. But they are seeking relief from the exterior side yard setback. So because Annie's Lane is a municipal road, this is considered exterior, despite the fact that it's not kind of a full-size municipal street. So the setback required is 4.5 meters for an exterior side yard. The proposed setback is 1.77 meters, and I would note that the existing setback is about 2 meters. So it's largely in the same general footprint as the existing house, which is outlined on the blue, which is a little hard to see. I do have plans here if anybody would like to see a closer view. So it's really this setback that is what we're looking at today. So you can see that's the Annie's Lane there and the existing dwelling, which is about 2 meters from the lot line. In terms of the policies, this is within the primary urban community of Saugeen Shores, and it is designated core commercial under the Saugeen Shores official plan, but the existing residential use can continue on that site in perpetuity as long as it remains residential. That's fine. In terms of the zoning, it is zoned for residential, so there's just a little bit of a discrepancy there. So it is residential first density R1, and despite the fact that this is a fairly small lot, it is undersized. It meets all the remaining setbacks and coverage requirements. It's really just this one setback that needs relief. In terms of the agency consultation, town staff noted that their main concern is the ability to continue to maintain Annie's Lane, and noted that in this case there are a number of existing structures on the lane which they already work around, and that the streetscape in this case, does invite that closer building proximity. There were no issues raised by any of the other circulated agencies, and it was confirmed that there are no natural hazards or natural heritage features on the land by the SPCA. There were no public comments received at the time of the report. And in terms of the 4 tests, I do believe that this proposal maintains the intent of the official plan. It is residential, it's remaining residential, and that's permitted under the policies of the official plan. In terms of the zoning bylaw, in this case, exterior side yard setbacks are generally, to keep houses away from streets and traveled roadways and create a bit of separation. In this case, this is a very low traffic laneway. Really, it only provides access to, there's a couple lots, so there's another driveway here and another driveway further down that take access off of Annie's Lane, but other than that, it's just connecting Lansdowne Street to Thompson Lane, so it's really would only be used for access to those few properties, so it is low volume in terms of traffic. And then there's no kind of street wall that we're looking to maintain in this case along Annie's Lane by keeping that setback maintained. So it would really just be from ensuring there's room to maintain the lane, and the town has said that they don't have any objections to this, as they already are working within existing constraints on this laneway. Is it appropriate and desirable? I believe that it is. In this case, it's largely within the same footprint. I don't believe that this application creates or aggravates any existing issues, and so the reduction is appropriate in this instance. And is it minor? I believe that it is. It's only a slight reduction from what's existing on the site, and I don't believe that the reduction will impact adjacent property owners or municipal functions in this instance. The only thing I would note in this case, and I note it in the report, is that an attached garage is being proposed. So currently there's just a driveway back here. There's no existing garage, so this is proposed to be an attached garage. This is largely the place where parking exists now, but it doesn't leave room for parking kind of in front of the garage. And there's nothing in the bylaw that prevents this. There's nothing that says there's a minimum length of driveway. There's minimum widths. But it's generally assumed that they're going to take access from the front yard, which is 6 meters, which has the room for parking. So if more parking is required, there is room at the front of the property, as that meets the 6 meters for additional parking. But this is largely in the spot where there is the existing parking area. So I don't think the addition of the garage further limits parking area on the property beyond the current limitations. But that is kind of beyond the scope of this application. So with that, I do recommend approval, as I believe this does meet the 4 tests.
Thank you, Ms. Forte. Is the applicant in the room? Sir, do you wish to address the committee? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anybody from the public that wishes to discuss this? No, then we'll move on to council. Any questions from Mr. Reed.
Yes. That I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if the applicant can speak to where the existing gas meter is. Is it this here?
Reed, anyone else? I have a motion moved by Councillor Rich, seconded by Mr. Legault, dated today, August the 19th, 2019, that minor variance application A-49-19.48 be approved, subject to the following conditions. That any future development on the property conforms to the provisions of the zoning bylaw, and that the decision applies only to the proposed development as indicated on Schedule A, attached to the decision sheet, and forming part of this decision. And that the minimum exterior side yard setback be no less than 1.7 meters. All in favor? Opposed? I'm sorry, I didn't see. Certainly.
So is it possible to put a condition in this stating that some kind of barrier has to be built around the natural gas intake based on the concerns? Or change the location of the gas meter?
I think a condition could be attached, though I guess I understand what happened in London. I also, I guess, hesitate to plan for a scenario like that if it is so unusual, unless I'm led to believe it is more common than what's happened in London over the last week or so.
Do you know what the building code is for that? Because I know somebody that does that for a living, and if it's within a certain distance of a roadway or a driveway, it is under the code. So I disagree. I think it's close enough to that laneway, and plows going down that laneway would be hard to clip it. But I don't think a barrier, some kind of.
I don't think it's too onerous to say that utility intake shall be protected from damage if necessary. If, you know, so you'll need.
Yeah. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Mr. Legault, dated today, August the 19th, 2019. The minor variance application A-49.19.4 be approved, subject to the following conditions: that any future development on the property conforms to the provisions of the zoning bylaw, and that the decision applies only to the proposed development as indicated on Schedule A attached to the decision sheet and forming part of this decision. 3, that the minimum exterior side yard setback be no less than 1.7 meters. And number 4, that a utility barricade be constructed to protect the gas meter if required. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Our next item is item number 5.4. This is a minor variance A-52-19.44. Red Hawk Construction. This has to deal with the properties at 24, 26, 20, and 30 Fairway Lane. Ms. Fortier.
Thanks, Jake. Could you put up the... So this is a minor variance application for 4 units within the West Links subdivision on the eastern end of Port Elgin. So it's along what is now Fairway Lane. So these are existing here. We haven't had the aerial updated since then, so they are part of this development. It is all residential with, of course, the golf course adjacent, service with municipal water and sewer, and access via Fairway Lane, which, if it hasn't been yet, will be transferred to the municipality. So basically, at the time of a survey for the purposes of describing the units for the condominium, it was found that there was an error made when the foundations were poured, and they were poured just slightly off where they needed to be. So they are only 5.87 meters from the lot line as opposed to the required 6. And in order to go through the condominium process, the units must meet the zoning bylaw. So the variance is required to legalize the existing setback and allow the process to kind of continue from the condominium standpoint. So in this case, all the provincial policies were looked at the time of the subdivision. It is within the primary urban community and within the special Saugeen Shores official plan designations that were created as part of the West Links subdivision. So this is within their medium density area of SPA 5, and it is zoned for residential 4th density special. And the special provisions really relate directly to the specific nature of the West Links subdivision and in terms of coverage and density. But otherwise, it is expected to meet the provisions of the R4 zone, which is a 6-meter front yard setback. So there are no objections raised by any of the circulated agencies and town staff, and there are no public comments received. So really, this is really just a technical error that's being corrected. It's in terms of maintaining the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It's very close to where it needed to be. It's just slightly off the 6 meters. And it is appropriate in development, I believe, to legalize it in this case, as not allowing it wouldn't gain any public interest and would result in significant cost to the developer. And I believe it's minor in nature. I mean, it's 13 centimeters from the front yard setback, so it's very, very much a minor application. So with that, I do recommend approval to recognize the as-built front yard setback of that block of townhomes.
Thank you, Ms. Fortier. Sir, do you wish to address the committee? Any comments from anyone else? Thank you. Committee. I have a A motion moved by Mr. Legault, seconded by Councillor Rich, dated today, August the 19th, 2019, that minor variance application A-52-19-44 be approved, subject to the following conditions. That any future development on the property conforms to the provisions of the zoning bylaw, and that the decision applies only to the proposed development as indicated on Schedule A attached to the decision sheet in forming part of this decision. And number 3, that the minimum front yard setback be no less than 5.8 meters. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Our next item is back to 5.1. This is a sign bylaw variance for Wendy's Restaurant with municipal address of 154 Goddard Street in the former town of Port Elgin. Ms. Fortier.
It's mine.
I'm sorry.
So the Pride signs on behalf of the Wendy's restaurant being constructed applied for sign bylaw relief for a ground sign to be a maximum of 5.9 meters and a sign with a maximum sign face area of 7.68 square meters. The details are shown on the screen. And just to highlight the sections of the bylaw that you're to use when evaluating variances, it's for special circumstances or pre-existing conditions, a measure of what hardship, considering the character of the area. Pride signs provided additional context. In the report, I've provided this paraphrasing. Variance is needed to maintain Wendy's corporate store branding standards for all of its locations and provide Wendy's with visibility along their street. I've outlined 3 options. You can approve it in part, or you could refuse it. And since the agenda was published, I had a comment received. I circulated that to all of committee. So do you need me to read it any further? If not, I'll just, you have it in your files. And there it is. You have the options. And we have Jeff from Pride Signs that can help answer questions on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you. You wish to address, sir?
Hi, my name's Jeff Barron. I work at Pride Signs from Cambridge, Ontario. So yeah, we represent Wendy's across Canada for all their locations. As you may or may not know, they're slightly changing their logo to this. It still says Wendy's with the girl with the red pigtails. It's just a slightly different font and a more stylized logo. So they're rebranding all their restaurants across Canada. This has been ongoing for more than 2 years now, so obviously we're coming to this part of the country now. As I stated in my rationale, it's just in keeping with store branding standards. The bylaw limits the maximum height, according to the bylaw, would be 2.5 meters tall, which, according to their branding standards for their locations, is too short. So we've proposed 5.9 meters in height, which is, I believe, 19 foot 8 inches, it says on the drawing there. We tried to compromise with what the bylaw would allow versus what a lot of their other locations. I'd say the standard is probably about 7.5 meters tall, 24 and a half feet. So we tried to reduce that height by about 5 feet to try and come closer to what the bylaw would allow for. Obviously, it's still an increase, but we did try to reduce that height down from almost 25 feet. Also in my rationale, I don't know if it was included, I included about 4 or 5 street shot photos of existing businesses. Oh, here we go. Basically neighboring businesses or businesses just up the street, just showing the size and height of some of their existing signs. There's a Super 8, there was a Boston Pizza right next door, a gas station, and then just up the road there's a McDonald's, a Subway, and a Mary Brown's. They're all look to be more than the 2.5 meters in height. So again, Wendy's is just trying to keep their branding standards for all the locations consistent, and also consistent with what other businesses on the street currently have. Thanks.
Committee, any questions? Councilor Rich?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is a tough one for me because in the end, we have a sign bylaw to try, and if we're going to always change it with every application, then there's not really any sense in having a sign bylaw. So I guess the question's for you, Jay. So I did see the email that you provided information for Cheryl, and I don't know what's like, how big are the other signs comparatively? Like this is double the maximum height that we would allow, right?
The signs that were shown by Mr. Barron were approximately the same height. So I think the Subway is 6.2. It's a little higher, but Mary Brown's and Boston Pizza are both about very close to 5.9. I don't have any data on the Super 8. It was issued before we collected permits, and the McDonald's, I don't think I have a permit on that one either, but the eye test is that it's close. And Circle K is 4 meters, and it's compliant with the current bylaw because gas stations have a small twist compared to other signs that we're trying to approve.
Just as a follow-up, so I've got no problem approving this application if it's in the same sort of ballpark as everything else. But what would your recommendation be with the sign bylaw moving forward? Like, do we just continue to give variances to everything that anyone that applies, or what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I haven't made a huge effort to think about how the sign bylaw can be made to be more, to avoid variances in the future, because it is, it's a bit of a frustrating document, and I'll take blame for that because I wrote it. But at first glance, I would suggest providing more. We currently have it set up so that there are districts in town and they're aligned with the zoning bylaw, so it doesn't differentiate, say, south end of Port Elgin from south end of Southampton. If they're highway commercial, they're highway commercial. But obviously, I know this, I can see it, and you can too, is that those are two distinct areas in town. They definitely have a different feel for how those developments are proceeding. And so maybe having more refinement in the districts might be an option. Doesn't mean it's the best, but it certainly mean it's a little more clear for landowners at the south end of Port Elgin, know what they're getting into before they have to take the risk of a variance application.
Anyone else? Anyone wish to make a motion for options 1, 2, or 3?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share Councillor Rich's concern about compliance with the sign bylaw and why have a sign bylaw if we are always going to grant variances, minor variances. For that reason, I don't think I can support this application. I just think that we have enough distractions on that part of the highway. I don't think we need an extra big sign there. Wendy's is already a hot commodity, and I know people who just can't wait to order their first burger there. I don't know that a sign is going to change much on that. Like having a sign considerably larger than the bylaw permits, I don't see that that's actually going to change the retail fortunes of Wendy's. personally, that's my opinion. For that reason, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Rich.
So through you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'm posing this to the other committee member. Would you propose a sign that they have to have a sign that fits within the sign bylaw? Is that your motion? Because we could do the second option, the Committee of Adjustment approves, in part sign variance application. We can make it whatever we want. So what would your motion be?
I think it should be smaller. I think it should comply with the bylaw as a default position. Beyond that, if there's a consensus in the room that we can live with something else for some other good reason, I'd be willing to listen to that and could be persuaded by that.
Be clear, a refusal doesn't mean they can have no sign. A refusal just means they have to comply with the bylaws. So I don't know if that's what the member was referring to, but that's why there's only 3 options. Sorry.
Agreed. Somebody prepared to make a motion based on one of the 3 options? Seconder for the motion? I have a motion moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Councillor Rich, dated today, August the 19th, 2019, that sign bylaw variance for Wendy's restaurant be approved. All in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Our next meeting date will be on Monday, September the 16th at 2019. Motion moved by Bo, seconded by Councillor Rich, dated August the 19th, 2019, that we do now turn to meeting. At the call of the Secretary Treasurer, all in favor. Thank you, everyone.